Hey guys, Analogman here for a card game discussion as per usual. As most of you probably know, the ban list was finally updated. As you can see, this is their official Twitter. Coincidentally, this did literally drop like 2 seconds after the announcement on the Bandai Card Fest stream. I was actually watching it at the time, and my friend immediately sent me this link. So I'm basically using this as the official thing, especially because it is in English. The one I saw was in Japanese. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's just get literally right into it because there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about. So first off, the first new banned card, Matt from BT2, banned because he facilitated Velgor Loop, and the fact that in other purple decks he could just grab back any purple option or a Digimon actually was pretty broken in since it came out back then. But Velgra Loop basically took it to a new level because you could not only use it to grab back the Duskmon, but then the Duskmon could evolve on top of the mat. That was the main issue I think that Bandai had, was that it was just providing way too easy of a target for the loop essentially. So now essentially I feel Velgra Loop will have to essentially run the I think with purple memory setters, there's not really that many good ones. So most likely they'll have to pivot. Whoever's still playing purple hybrid will have to pivot towards the other four cost Koichi, which isn't as effective and it's not a memory setter. So I can't honestly like just thinking about a lot of purple memory starters. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's like this is like the only one I remember that most people honestly use because it was literally the best one and set your memory to 3. I'm trying to think of one, but it's really evading me. Like I can't remember one aside from him that people have ever used, honestly. It's kind of weird. But yeah, no, this hit is actually pretty huge for Purple Hybrid and or Velgro Loop because it just nerfs the deck a bit. But not only that, but the card right below it also does hurt it a bit. But yeah, we'll get to it. The other banned pair is of course Mother Reaper and Shoto. For those that played against Mother Control, they already know how annoying this combo is because essentially your opponent would just have a 15,000 to maybe 17,000 if you have a tie, memory setting tamer boosting it. A 17,000 unaffected blocker that can't be touched by, essentially you literally can't even touch it or get rid of it. The only way you could really do it was by killing the Shoto, but the problem is that there are a lot of decks that don't have a way to really interact with tamers. The only two that I can think of that I've recently played that could really do anything to Shoto would be Imperial and Dexdoru, because Dexdoru can just kill it outright, but with Imperial they can just stun it for an entire turn and they literally can't use it, so they would not have a blocker. But the problem is that most builds ran 4 copies, so you are guaranteed to have at least 1 or 2 unaffected giant walls just stopping you from swinging for game. Essentially, if you played against this thing, you would absolutely need a card that specifically makes it so they can't be blocked, like Mirage's Inherit Effects or the high speed plugin D, essentially, to get past this, which was really annoying. And yeah, no, I honestly can see why they banned it because it was just too strong of a combo. And not only that, is that Shoto basically granted blocker to almost anything. So it was being teched into a lot of other decks and made it way more annoying than it should have been because it should have been locked to Zefkamon, like an avian or a bird, but instead they made him generic, and that's where the problem was, where it basically started. So they had to hit this, honestly, or errata it, but I don't know why they didn't errata it, but that's Bandai, not me saying it. I would have just errated it to just say avian and bird, which would have made it way more easier to deal with. But yeah, that's what they went with, so whatever. So for the new restricted cards, these are the cards that will be at 1 specifically. Blinding Ray here, I can see why they hit it. This is a long time coming because Blinding Ray has been annoying since it came out. I was there around BT2 when my friend was abusing the shit out of this card to gain memory using Yellow Shine Greymon, and I absolutely hated this card because not only that, but Rookie Rush did abuse this way back in the day in like BT4, so I really did not like this card. And the fact that it took until literally like what No, actually, because since this game has been around since like 2020, 2021, yeah, it's been 4 years and it took them that long to hit this card. I'm genuinely surprised it took them that long. I'm going to assume the main reason why they even hit it is because of Magna X, because Magna X does abuse at least 2 copies of this to make itself immune. But even then, a lot of the more recent builds I've been seeing have been kind of going away from it. They've been focusing more on like the Flame Dramon play essentially to do that essentially because it also gets you an extra swing and it forces them to block at the same time. So now you're basically forced to just run 1 copy, but it's very easily replaceable in Magna X. Like you have so many other options. You have like Heaven's Judgment, you have Zubagon Punches, you have Fire Rockets. You got like so much stuff because it's a blue base deck. So this hit honestly doesn't do anything to Magna X, and they will find a way to get around this and still continue to top. So don't know what Bandai was thinking on that, honestly. Like I get it, maybe nerfing yellow, but aside from that, it doesn't really do much. Jack Raid, on the other hand, is very huge of a hit because a lot of purple decks rely on this as a way to basically like gain memory later on when their trash is like completely gone, especially decks like Beals and like Purple Hybrid and potentially I believe Necromon also needed this pretty badly. So this actually does kind of significantly hurt a lot of purple decks specifically. So yeah, and I can honestly see why, because this card has been a problem since it came out way back in the day. So, yeah, it makes sense. Mirage, finally, but they hit it at the worst possible time because pure Mirage, yes, it continues to see tops, but most of the time when you see a Mirage deck topping, it's usually the Galaxy build. And especially as of this recording, the person who won Worlds was using the Galaxy engine with only 1 Mirage. So he pre-banned himself already in preparation for this list somehow. And he still won. So it's not like Mirage is a problem, and he continued to be a problem, and I don't know why they didn't hit him until now. I'm glad he is, but they hit him at like the worst possible time because nobody cares about dealing with Mirage anymore. Almost every other top deck currently in the meta can delete the crap out of him, and he cannot defend himself, sadly. But the thing is that if they really wanted to hit him, they should have hit him like 3 or 4 sets ago, maybe more, because he's been a problem for the longest time. And with like the new tools of using like Hex and the Fish engine, it became even more annoying to deal with him when you ran into one. So I don't know why they waited until now. I don't get their logic in that because if they hit it now, then it's like everybody's just like whatever. I'll just pivot to Galaxy. So no, it didn't do nothing. So I don't get this hit. Fenrir Lugamon, on the other hand, this is a huge hit. Because for those that have actually played against the deck or seen how the build goes, you need 4 copies of this to get off your main play, which is to summon Kazuchimon, Jogress, -15, and do the OTK as fast as possible to win the game. But with this at 1, your main game plan is now crippled. Your main game plan of an OTK now becomes a game of control purple, which is not a good way to go about this deck because that is not how the gameplay of this deck works. So this hit severely cripples that deck, sadly. And most likely after this hit, we will be seeing less tops. It will still be around possibly because maybe at 1 it might still be able to function, but I feel like it's going to be in a very bad state. It'll probably go into like tier 2 at least because it still has legs. It's just not as strong as it would be if it had 4 copies. Kazuhamon, this, I honestly, I see why they hit it because recently, my friend at Locals actually just recently built Tau Loop, and I watched him vomit a board of 5 level 6s on me. So, yeah, I can see why this is hit. Like, and the thing is, that whole board he made was started because of this thing. So hitting this at 1 is actually really good because it makes that loop really inconsistent and slow. So that means they have to struggle a bit more to swarm the board. They have to go into like the other plays essentially, which I'm okay with. That's fine. Just her at 1, yeah, we good. The Aguni and Lobo promo getting hit, I can see why, because the ancient decks are still technically around. So, and these did facilitate a fast combo that essentially allowed people to basically just cheat out a level 6 that then also played free stuff for them, so I can kind of see why they hit it. So it makes sense. The Stingmon hit is the only thing I genuinely do not understand. Every other one, I can see some logic behind it. I can see a reason behind it. But the Sting, that is just weird. Like for an Imperial hit, that is super jank. Because we all know, having seen Imperial in the format for at least maybe two, like 3 sets at this point, that the most crucial thing for the deck is two things: Pyldramon and the Davis Ken Tamer that facilitates the deck to just spam searchers the next turn on your turn, essentially. So hitting the Sting that gets you more draw power is kind of weird because every time I've played Imperial, I've honestly barely gone into this Sting. I've gone into it maybe once in the last year, honestly. Most of the time, you want to be, like, for any Imperial player that is watching, they know that the reason we don't go into this one is because we want to go into the other Stingmon, because that one gains us back 1 memory when we Jogress. So it's kind of weird. And not only that, is that because of all the evolution you're doing plus the Demi V egg that you're most likely running, you're going to be already drawing a lot of cards in conjunction. So it's kind of weird that they would hit the Stingmon, because a lot of builds actually have pivoted away from this one, and they've actually replaced, like, my build currently actually has this replaced with Lydramon, the vanilla, like, dual color armor one, because mainly it's because there are like, the main issue with the deck is the fact is that sometimes you don't see Sting or you don't see XV. So having Lydramon actually allows you to still Jogress, you just get 1 less memory. But the thing is, hitting this Stingmon just doesn't make any sense. Like, I genuinely don't understand it. They could have hit Davis, the Davis and Ken. They could have hit Pyodra. They could have hit the Imperial. They could have hit the Wormmon, that the dual color, was it green purple that's being abused in red purple Imperial. It's so weird that they didn't hit that stuff, but they hit Sting. So I'm like, all right, whatever, man. Because usually when I'm swinging with this, I don't really give a shit, and I don't really even need that draw by that point. So I don't genuinely understand that hit. Everything else, as I said, makes a lot of sense. Aside from that, as you can see from the top here, it goes into effect on March 28th. So you still, at least as of this recording and my posting of this, there's still about a week to play these decks. So play them as much as you can before they get hit, because after that, they're basically nerfed into the ground, which really, well, some of them, not all of them, because the red and blue hybrids can just replace those anyway, and most builds don't even run more than 2, so it's like, they don't really care. Kazuha, Tau Loop is going to be having a rough time after this. They're still going to be able to loop, but it's going to be way harder for them, which sucks. Same with Fenrir Luga Takemizuchi mode. They're going to be struggling to get that OTK off half the time, and most likely by the time they set it up, they're basically already dead next turn anyway, so sucks. For pure Mirage players, my condolences. Really sucks, but you're going to have to switch to the Galaxy engine. That's just how it's going to go down. For purple hybrid players, play the crap out of that deck before after next week, because you ain't going to be playing that version anymore. You're going to have to actually do a normal play instead of just looping all day. For Magna X players, we about to gold rush everybody into the ground, so we going to have some fun. So I'll see you guys next time.